Come on in. Class is about to start today. It's a really powerful lesson, I think.
Yeah, we were talking about it this morning quite a bit. We went
Yeah.
on a hike.
We went on a hike that was, well, a couple days ago we tried this same hike and we got lost.
Yeah, and we
But-
love getting lost.
Yeah, really, it's an adventure. And this time we made it to the top and it was a real workout, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we like to do things like that together because we talk. You know, it's just interesting.
It is, and it goes back to this idea: the way to get energy is to expend it, right?
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, that's the keep challenging yourself, and that's the basis of our health.
Yeah,
so much.
Well, the real basis is we keep our minds as clear as possible.
Well, that is the challenge.
And take responsibility for what's going on.
Well, that's the challenge.
Yeah. So,
So today's lesson.
yes, I want to talk about today's lesson, but I want to also say somebody in the chat last time we were here on Edenshire asked to see pictures or a picture of us in our younger days. So I will show you that at the end.
Right, what's this
Okay.
lesson about?
Okay, as if you didn't know. Let me forget my brother's past today is really saying, let's just stop trying to figure out who the other person is based on what we saw yesterday, last year, what they said, what they did. Forget about it, as we say in New York.
Yeah.
Forget about it. It's like right now, every day, in this moment, we start fresh. What a dream world to start fresh with everybody. And just as if we're like flowers coming up from the ground and we never saw anybody before, everybody is brand new. Who are they but the Christ? Who am I but the Christ? So, what did you get out of it?
Well, same thing you did, of course, but it was this idea that regardless of, we're not denying their behaviors or their actions, we're not pretending that, misogyny or racism or whatever, or they were mean, or we're not denying that. We're not denying the actions, behavior, but we're relating to them in the moment, in the present. And the reason is because our solutions have already occurred within us, within the Holy Spirit, within reality. We already have the answer for whatever, like there was only one substitution, fear for love, and then it had this infinite set of manifestations of it, and everyone had a miracle or forgiveness that's already within us, which is why I can stop and say, I want another way to look at this person. Holy Spirit, show this person to me. And the Holy Spirit is saying, they're either being loving or they're calling for love.
Yeah.
And you can be the conduit for their call for love. You can be the Holy Spirit working within you to answer their call for love.
Right.
So I'm not going in the past, Jan, you've always done this, and you've always done that, and you've always done this,
And you're that kind of a person.
and the craziness of love from the ego is, loving you is putting up with how terrible you are. That kind of thinking is just crucifixion thinking.
It is.
It's like, if I suffer, I'll be purified. And he's saying, let me forget the past.
So one of the things that I got from what you just said is that the Holy Spirit is operating outside of time.
Yes.
And-
in time from timelessness.
He's the bridge.
Yeah.
And we have to get on that bridge and stop being on the time train.
Yeah.
Now that time train just keeps right on, like train on tracks. It doesn't have a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
It can't make a U-turn.
Right.
And Holy Spirit can.
That's right.
So the idea that, this took me a long time. There's a chapter 9, section 2 in the text has got some stuff in it that for years I thought was anomalous.
Right.
Like, what? And now I see it all over the course. And that is the idea that to be healing, to offer healing to my brother, it's from the Holy Spirit in me to the Holy Spirit in you.
Exactly.
And that's it. Not my memory, not my ego, not my defensiveness,
Right.
not what I'm trying to protect or project, not my self-concept, not your self-concept. Holy Spirit here, boom, there's one self.
Okay, so would you say that this exactly relates to the burnout we feel as healers, right? Because the sense of being depleted, the sense of, well, depletion, in terms of the Course, is exactly this, because we're referencing the past of how we've seen them in the past. And we're not coming into the present and letting the Holy Spirit let us relate to him through the Holy Spirit.
Because the Holy Spirit has no loss or lack or depletion whatsoever.
That's right. So
Yeah.
Our first step, however ambiguous it may seem, however ambiguous of how we're going to approach that healing, is to just say, stop, I don't have to look to the past.
Right.
Because that's what depletes us. That's what makes us feel like, I mean, there's nothing more horrible in the world to feel like you give your love and it hasn't landed, it hasn't been received.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem as though it's working. Well, it's always working.
It's always working.
But you're stuck in time. You're looking to the past.
Mm-hmm.
This is how men are. This is how women are. This is how jocks are. This is all of that. And if we don't do that, then whatever love we offer, whatever healing, our healing will be accomplished in that. That's the beauty of the Course. By helping another, you really, that's the way to help yourself. Because they are yourself. So that's, to me, is the challenge, and we've talked about this a lot, is suspend my judgment based upon the past.
That's, to me, that's what forgiveness is. Suspension of judgment. Just letting go. I don't know anything. I love those places in the Course where it says, I don't know squat.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when I can get to that place, then I can offer healing.
Yeah.
I can receive healing for myself. It's like, you know, those lessons where it says, I want to see things differently. I'm determined to see differently. Well, to see differently, I have to let go of the way I see.
Yeah.
And I think one of the real huge cultural habits we have, maybe it's every human culture, I don't know, is to look at specific instances in a person's life and draw a conclusion and say that's the way they are.
Yeah.
That's not the way they are. They're the Christ. And until we can fully get that about ourselves and another person, we have work to do.
Yeah.
That's all. We have work to do. It doesn't mean we're bad or we're lacking or bad Course student or any of that. We just have work to do.
See, and this is where, like we've said over and over and over again, where the Course is saying, because we believe we used our power and our freedom to separate us from love, because we still believe that, we hide our power and we hide our freedom. But here's what he does to make choice be simple.
Yeah.
So in this situation, how am I going to see this other person? What does it mean to heal this person? How is that accomplished? If we really say, I don't know.
Yeah.
If we really say that, since there's only two thought systems, the egos and the Holy Spirit, if we negate the one, and that's our only job, is to let go of that. If we really do that, then the Holy Spirit's answer is right there.
Already there.
And we may not be ready to receive it, so it takes patience. But the understanding, without that one, this one is true. Without the ego sense of the past, when we realize I'm not going to access that, then the Holy Spirit's way to see the situation, to know where to heal, will automatically be there, because there's only two. That's what makes decisions powerful, because you break them down to two meaningful choices. Is it innocence? Is it guilt? Is it fear? Is it love? Is it separation from love? Is it union with love? And when we know it, when we keep making those choices, we gain in power and we gain in strength. And we can generalize that lesson. So wherever we've offered healing, we can generalize it to here and here and here, and till finally, when all we ever offer is forgiveness. That's the atonement.
There's so much in what you said that I want to
Go for it.
talk about. So one of them is the idea of generalization. So everything that Holy Spirit has us do, the ego has a false or harmful way to do it.
Yeah.
So, prayer, healing, forgiveness. I'm basing this on the pamphlet, The Song of Prayer.
Right.
The ego has a phony way of praying. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz?
Yep.
Right? It has a false way of forgiveness.
Just about me.
It's I am so much better than you, and
Yeah.
I will forgive you because that's phony forgiveness.
Yeah.
And phony healing is when I think I have something the other person doesn't.
That's the whole deal.
Okay, now the way that
Say that again. When we believe, we as healers, that we're giving them something they don't have.
yes,
That's the mistake.
that's how,
Because what are we doing?
because we're forgetting that it's Holy Spirit in me, not my ego,
Yeah.
not my attributes, not my accomplishments, not my self-concept. It's Holy Spirit, period, who does the healing. If I get out of the way
Yeah.
and let Holy Spirit do the healing, I will see Holy Spirit here, Holy Spirit there. That's it.
So then
There's
you're
nothing more to do. How could that be depleting?
So the way that you're not giving them, believing I'm giving them something they don't have, you're recognizing they have the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
And that you're just awakening within them
Yes.
what they already have.
Yeah. So there was that place in the Course where it says the light in your mind can shine in theirs.
Yeah.
And it's not, the only work is the atonement. And the atonement is sometimes referred to as undoing.
Yeah.
Undoing the beliefs of the ego.
Yeah.
So the false generalization, to get back to that generalization
Yeah.
idea,
Mm-hmm.
is I think that because I've seen you, kick the cat and...
You're not talking about me.
Not really.
I've never kicked a cat.
No, we don't even have a cat. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like
It's a hypothetical.
display angry behavior.
Yeah.
I've seen you do that 2 or 3 times. The false generalization that the ego does is you are an angry person.
Yeah.
You are, and I am,
Mm-hmm.
are, am, be. These are all forms in English of the same word,
Right.
is. I mean, English is weird, but so to say you are angry is like giving you a quality of your being.
Yeah.
Not, you acted angry, you had some anger, you were experiencing some anger. Anger could move through you. It's not who you are.
That doesn't. So to see that anger doesn't mean they're an angry person.
No.
And that's a mistake because we make a metaphysical move to that's the way you are.
Yeah, that's the false generalization.
Yeah.
And the true generalization is there is only Holy Spirit, or there is only Christ.
Yeah.
And when the Course talks about your only job is to accept the atonement for yourself, and then it tells you atonement is undoing, and atonement and forgiveness and healing are all the same thing.
Yeah.
The only thing we have to do is do a mind dump. Let go of everything we think we know about that other person.
Yeah.
We don't know anything. We only know what we made up
Yeah.
from our sensory data. And Holy Spirit is waiting. And Holy Spirit will use that sensory data. But if we try to do it without Him, we're just going to fall down into the pit with that person.
Right. And I don't want you to miss your other points, but Stephen Levine, he used to teach Zen meditation to people who are death and
Yeah.
dying situations.
Yeah.
And he said the difference between don't know,
Mm-hmm.
which is what we're talking about, don't know is the beginning of a new way to see things.
Sure.
If I've let go how I'm seeing things in the past and say don't know, now I'm open to new learning.
Right.
So he said the difference between don't know and confusion is confusion thinks it sees several ways out or several possibilities, but they're all blocked. And don't know is just quiet. Let my mind be still. Let my heart be quiet. Let my mind rest. Let it be still. Let me be open to a new way to see this being, because this being is the holiest thing in all of creation.
Yeah, look at that last line. The last line of today's lesson is unbelievable. No, we can believe it. He, your brother, cannot be less holy than Jesus.
Right.
My brother Timothy cannot be less holy than Jesus. Wow, really? I've got all kinds of ideas based on the past, right? Like who you are. The Course is the word radical means root.
Yeah.
The Course is taking us to the root of our minds.
Yep.
And saying, pull out all of these weeds that are not useful and let the truth flow through you, flower in you.
Yeah.
So my brother cannot be less holy than Jesus, and I cannot be holier than thou.
Yeah,
right? It's impossible. So
that goes back to, I believe I'm giving something to them they don't have.
I'm holier than they.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the equality of healing that's the issue.
Yeah.
The equality of deservedness, no matter how they've behaved.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
That doesn't
matter.
matter.
They deserve forgiveness.
Yeah.
That whole equality thing is so hard to get.
Little by little.
Yeah.
You know, the beginning of the workbook says how you do. I want to actually find it. First of all, it's saying you don't necessarily need to understand what this is saying.
You just have to, he says that in the introduction.
You probably can repeat it.
Right, he's saying, he said, just use these ideas.
Right.
Don't assume, first I have to understand them, and then I will know how to use them. You have to understand how he says to apply them, but the understanding comes after you use them.
Right.
Because the premise of a student, the premise of don't know is, I need to learn.
Right.
So you don't have to pretend I understand, I know. Just use these ideas, and then the experiences that come show you they're true.
Right. So here's the paragraph. If you're interested, it's in the introduction to the workbook. It's toward the end of the introduction. It says, some of the ideas the workbook presents you will find hard to believe, yes, and others may seem to be quite startling. Yeah. This does not matter. Okay. You are merely asked to apply the ideas as you are directed to do. You are not asked to judge them at all. You are asked only to use them. It is their use that will give them their meaning, that will give them meaning to you, and will show you that they are true. Remember only this: you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept them, and you need not even welcome them. We can just, this is such baloney, but he says, do this once an hour. Okay. It's worth it. It's really worth it. Some of them you may actively resist. I talked in another class recently about how Amy, when she hit up against some of these ideas that she would actively resist, she tore the book apart. And then she realized this is a sacred book, so she saved the parts. None of this will matter. Some of them you'll actively resist. None of this will matter or decrease their efficacy. But do not allow yourself to make exceptions in applying the ideas the workbook contains, and whatever your reactions to the ideas may be, use them. Nothing more than this is required. So there is the idea of generalization.
Yeah.
In the true sense. It's like when we use the workbook's ideas, And we get it in one place. Like if I have a real clear understanding for a moment that I'm not holier than thou, that thou art the Christ,
Right.
as am I. If I can get that for 1 second, it will generalize.
Right.
And I'll realize everybody I run into is that.
That's right.
So
that's the way it goes.
yeah.
So, and that's the beauty of why the Course puts such an emphasis on being a student. I mean, we can think of ourselves as disciples and as followers, as servants, those kinds of things. But the first premise of a student is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn. And we can't be expected to know what we came to learn. And what we're trying to learn or relearn is who we are.
You know, we both have many times had brand new students of the Course.
Yeah.
And they will invariably, as I did, and I'm sure you did, try to take the Course's ideas and relate them to things that we already knew or we had already learned from another path. And it's inevitable. But at a certain point, we have to realize that these two things don't quite mesh. And we need to let go of one in order to fully get the other one. You know, it's like you've told me about that philosophical problem of the ship. There's a ship that is being repaired as it crosses the ocean.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole idea.
So tell that story.
Okay, but it's also the whole idea of discovery as you go along, right? So take the ship of the metaphor. You know, the ship is going down, and as it's moving towards its goal, it has to repair itself as it's going.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we're doing. We continue to go, and we're not necessarily prevented from that goal of self-realization because we have to repair our old ideas or let go of them.
Yeah, we have to throw away the timbers that are rotten. You know, the things that don't work.
Things that don't work.
Things don't work with the new thought system.
Yeah, and it doesn't preclude learning from. I mean, I had I had a non-dualistic tradition before I came to the Course, and it's not that I haven't learned something from that, and I need to let go of that. It's just that if I'm using the Course at that moment, then use the Course. Use that idea. Like he said, it doesn't matter if you believe them or whatever. Just use them.
Use these ideas.
Use this as it is, not what do I think it says, or I just use it. But you know what? What I really want to do today too. That you said there was something else in all that I had said there.
I was just going to talk about the atonement, but maybe I did.
No.
All right, so a little bit. Let me forget my brother's past today means like erase a part of my own self-concept. Actually, you know, it's a concept of my brother, but it's really in my mind. So by letting go, that's just another way of saying atonement, accepting the atonement. I can't accept the truth, the radiant, glorious, unified truth of who we are, if I'm still thinking you are you know, you are a baby boomer. Anything that I put a category around, it's like I'm limiting. We have to let go of all limits. I think that's what the atonement is, letting go of limits. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
So speaking of things that may seem outrageous or not easy to understand, is in this lesson today in his description, where Jesus is saying explicitly, "Forgive me." No, now
that's always been a hard one for me because it's like, well, what am I blaming you for, pal?
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems confusing.
It does.
That he would say, "Forgive me."
It does, and he just says it in several places too.
Yeah. In fact, so this is what he's saying is that, and then the sign that you've forgiven Jesus, and we'll explain what that means in a second, is that you're able to hold others in this light of holiness. If you can see others
Mm-hmm.
in the light of holiness, that means that you've forgiven Jesus. Well, what does he mean by that? He means use me as a model of how to heal others.
Mm.
Use me as the model that regardless of how I was treated, regardless of the fact that they tortured and murdered me, I did not interpret self
Mm-hmm.
as a body.
Right. Right.
So if we're going to use him as a model,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right, that's what he means by forgive me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole narrative arc that he's had in this, is that Jesus says, I'm presenting the course to you. You're the model. Or he says, I'm the model. The Holy Spirit's the guide. But you're the one.
You are the commander.
You have to be the one who gets the whole enchilada moving. That's how he begins to show us. Because again, we're scared of our power. We're scared of our freedom. And so the course is set up. We have to make the first move.
Mm-hmm.
The cavalry's not coming.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody coming to rescue us until we just say, I need to let go of how I see this from the past. I need to let go of that. I don't know how to do it. I just know it doesn't work. I don't have peace.
I need help.
I feel burdened, especially in my healing work. I feel burdened.
Mm-hmm.
All of that. I don't know. I need another model.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of forgiving him
Mm-hmm.
is so important in this whole idea. And then the test that he's the model of not seeing ourselves as bodies, not being tortured as a body, not suffering as a body,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's emotionally or whatever.
Or physically or financially or whatever.
Whatever seems to be the conflicts, then the fact that we can see others in that holiness is we know we're using him as a model because he sees everybody in that holiness,
Yeah.
as the Holy Spirit does.
Yeah. So as you're speaking, I got another insight.
Go for it.
The veil got a little thinner with that forgiving Jesus thing. And that is, if my self-concept isn't of the Christ only, if I still think of myself as, I'm a 74-year-old woman and blah, 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 blah. If I do that, instead of I am the Christ mind, the mind of Christ, the one self we share, that's who I am. If I'm not there, then I'm projecting body stuff onto everybody, including Jesus, right? So it's a process because I'm still thinking I'm related to my body in a big way.
Well, that's the advantage of being a student,
Yeah,
And
that's right.
we've talked about that. Again, if there's only two thought systems about who you are, the egos and the Holy Spirit, if you let go of one, the other one will be there.
It's there already.
He
right?
says that's the course's 3-step. The course's 3-step is, rather than thinking this is being done to you, realize it's being done by you. That's the first step. It's not being done to me. It's being done by me.
Right.
First step. Second step, be willing to let that go.
Uh-huh.
And then the third step, you don't do that because your images have already been replaced.
Right.
And that's what I want to talk about partly today in terms of the Holy Spirit is the theme that goes through these lessons.
Oh, yeah. Talk about that.
All right. So
Timothy is very good about seeing the big arcs that move through the course. What is brought up and dropped and reintroduced and connected, and you have a very good overview. Mm-hmm. I tend to look at what am I supposed to do today?
Well,
and that's okay. I mean, either way is works.
So that's understanding the narrative arc. It's called the narrative arc. It goes back to everybody has a story. Like, where would you be without your story? Well, this is the way meaning works. As long as we're in this time and space and place.
He uses that.
There's a story.
Yeah.
And it's either going to be the ego story or the Holy Spirit story.
Yeah.
So here's the process he talks about in What is the Holy Spirit? Is the Holy Spirit has to be this bridge between the illusions of who we are and the truth of who we are. And the central goal in that is that all my images of fear, whatever those images are, and there's an infinite set of them if we let them be, I have to have all those images of fear turn to images of love.
Yeah.
When all that I perceive is images of love, I'm done. That's it. Forgiveness is the only thing within my mind, and the peace of that forgiveness is the only thing in the mind. So when he was talking about the section, what is sin, the basis of our training here is to recognize that perception is not part of knowledge.
Right.
Because to perceive, you automatically break the oneness. You need a perceiver, and that's what is perceived. Or you need to judge, you need a judger, and that which is judged. That automatically makes two. So for us to get back to knowledge, we have to lay aside perception. And we lay aside perception by seeing only loving ones.
So that's like, first of all, we have the unforgiving worldview. And then we recognize we want to get past that to what the Holy Spirit sees. So he helps us to go from the condemning, judging,
perceiving
way of thinking to a happy way of perceiving, where we see only joyous, happy things.
Right.
And that's called the real world.
Right. Love or a call for love. And it's
Yes.
important to get, it's not just a love, it's a call for love, because
Which we can answer.
that's what it means to heal.
Yeah.
Is to let the Holy Spirit answer that call for love.
Right.
And therefore, I don't think I'm giving them something they don't have, which is what depletes me.
Yeah. Right.
So that's the idea in here. This whole process is to go from perceiving fear to perceiving love, through accepting forgiveness and then vision. Like he said, the only thing to see now is the face of Christ. That's what the world is to me now, is but the face of Christ. That's all that's being reflected back to me, is the truth of my being.
Right.
All right, so that's the first thing, to understand what the narrative arc is, what the story is, and how the story develops. But here's the other big point in this, what is the Holy Spirit? And it goes back to this idea that you need your strength. You need your strength, your freedom, your strength, your power. You need to develop that. But understand, and it says that in here, love itself's power is calling you to come home. And that's what we depend upon.
Yeah.
Like he said, here's the way that he put it in here. He used the familia sort of metaphors of a parent, right? So if you but knew how much your Father yearns to have you recognize your sinlessness, your holiness, if you knew how much love wanted you to see that, you would not wait to perceive just lovingly. You would not wait, right? You would not let his voice appeal in vain, nor turn away from his replacement for the fearful images and dreams you made. The Holy Spirit understands the means you made: perception, faith, belief, desire, the means that you made by which you would attain what is forever unattainable. You can't leave love. That's the whole point. You can't leave love.
Thank God.
Yeah, right? And if you offer these means, perception, faith, belief, desire, offer them to the Holy Spirit, your only experience will be loving.
Yay.
Right?
Yay.
So he's just letting us recognize we're not alone in this, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about me and my powers as a healer. Love itself is empowering me every moment to say, remember who you are. Turn to me. I have this power that will help you.
Yeah. I really am glad that Jesus presents himself in the Course as a companion on the way.
Fellow student.
Yeah.
He's a fellow student.
I guess.
He went through the same process.
I guess. I wanted to share something from chapter 17 that's like a precursor to this.
Yeah.
And it's just a couple of sentences. It says to forgive.
This is from Shadows of the Past. So
Yeah.
remember, that's a Jungian thing. These shadow beings from the past are like coming up.
Yeah, okay. So it's 17:3, and it's the first few sentences. To forgive, nice definition here. To forgive is merely to remember only the loving thoughts you gave in the past and those that were given you. All the rest must be forgotten. Today's lesson. Forgiveness is a selective remembering based not on your selection. Just remember the loving thoughts.
Look how beautifully wise that is. Our problem is we think we made a will that opposes God. That's our belief, and everything comes from that idea. I oppose love. I oppose God. So what does he do? He says, take a look at your oppositional thinking.
Yeah.
Take a look at things that you think are opposites, like giving and receiving, like forgetting and remembering. Forgetting something and remembering something seems like opposites. But if you forget all that was unlike love and only remember the love, then forgetting and remembering have one meaning.
Yeah.
And
we're remembering our heavenly being.
That's how he helps us deal with the conflicts inside. It's a conflict about a concept of self that you're holding. And you need other concepts that are not in conflict,
right,
to learn these new lessons. Right. So giving and receiving seem different. They seem like if I give away something physical, it's gone from me. If you put your time into this place, you're not putting your time somewhere else, right? So we think giving is the opposite of receiving. But when we understand what we're doing is giving ideas, and that we don't lose ideas when we give them, then giving is receiving. Yeah. And that's how we break the sense of sacrifice and pain and suffering, even in healing. We realize that what we gave is what we will receive. Yeah. So how could there be lack in that? Right. So
we have nothing but the Christ left.
That's right.
That's our goal.
So that narrative arc here in this lesson, like he's saying, forget about the brother's past. Forget about what is this? This is the thought. So this is the thought that leads the way to you. This is the narrative arc I wanted to mention. He started out these set of lessons to say, it is but my thoughts that hurt me. Yeah. And I can elect to change my thoughts. And now in this lesson, he said, here's the thought you need to change. Forget about your brother's past. Yeah. Yeah. Only my thoughts are hurt. It's not the world. It's not anything out there. It's not my body. It's my thoughts. That's the issue here. And I can change the thoughts that are hurting me. Yeah. And here's the thought that's hurting me. I'm clinging to my brother's past. And like you've been saying, instead of thinking there's anger going on there, I make them an angry person.
That's the mistake.
That's the mistake, because then you start defining them by that, right? Yeah. So forget about their past is the thought that'll help you not have thoughts that hurt you. All right. So it's like you're moving out.
I wanted to
only 12:12. So
I wanted to share this with people.
Okay.
All right.
Go for it.
So people asked about our past. So, Timothy and I have only known each other for 21 years. Before I forget, I wanted to say something about 2020. 2020 is like having perfect vision, right? These are my Christ helpers. This is my metaphor. It's like 2020 is a good year to choose Christ's vision. Okay, so here's a picture of us in Florida quite a long time ago. Is that cute? Timothy is really strong, and I was a little lighter in those days. Yeah. We have, speaking of let it...
Come with me to my cave, woman.
We have had a lot of fun. But, for the whole idea of forgetting our brother's past, in between what we have now and when this was taken, we were separated for a couple of years, few years. But I want to really show you a picture. This picture, this is not really truly us, but it's a picture of like our inner self.
It's our model. Right?
It's our model. Okay, this is. Do you see that? Is that cute? So this is a postcard or a card that I sent to Timothy. I was living in Sedona. He was living in Albuquerque. And I sent this to him as a Valentine's card on, like, let's say it was a Monday, and even before you got it, you called me up and you said, I think we should get married. And I said, okay. He had been bugging me. It just really, I finally succumbed. And so we met in Gallup, which is in between. It's just the most romantic town you can imagine. And we got married, and we had this most wonderful spiritual ceremony.
We did.
It was beautiful.
We invited in every marriage that had ever been to our ceremony.
Happy marriages.
Happy marriages. We invited in all the holy people that ever existed.
Yeah, we had pictures of saints, and yeah.
Because I think we realized that this course is what our life is about.
Yeah.
And that both of us shared this course.
Yeah.
And that to have that was so helpful to have a meaningful life.
Absolutely.
Because to be with people who share your values is the most wonderful thing in the world. It's what breaks the isolation. It breaks the loneliness. To be with somebody that you share these truths with.
There was Timothy is nothing like other men I have been with. There was never anyone who had a focus on God like you did and do. And that's okay, with that, everything's taken care of, right? I can learn to forgive any, ridiculous judgments that I might have, because the only thing that matters, he knows it and I know it.
Yeah.
And so that was great. So I just want to say about this little thing here. So he called me on Wednesday and said, let's get married. I agreed. We got married on Friday, even before he had received this. But we had a 2-day engagement. This is, I think this is a picture of our inner life.
Definitely.